welcome to a new Podcast Valley Sunday. I am one of your hosts, Chris Paco.
And I'm your other host, Jeff Cameron.
How's it going, new Jeff Cameron?
It's new A-OK. How about you?
It's going tubular, dude. It is gnarly and tubular because we are here to talk about the new Monkees.
Oh, yes. It's a radical cowabunga all around.
It really is. It really is. And I will start off by saying I apologize to everybody for last week. But the reason was we started doing this. We've had this new Monkees one. We wanted to kind of check it out for a while. And so we decided to do it, but we didn't know how. We had these different ideas of what to do. And then we just said, let's just do a reaction to it because that'll probably be the coolest thing. But it really was just us watching it going, what? That's what? And so we realized midway through recording it, we were both like, I don't know if this is going to be as entertaining as we thought it was.
Yeah, make no mistake, folks. We are not here to bury the new Monkees. Not by any means.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Because this was, it's been fun kind of finally checking this stuff out.
Yeah. And it was really because the reaction to it, if people can't watch it, like with the music ones we reacted to, you're still listening to the music.
Yes.
But with this, you'd just be hearing stuff going on and us kind of giggling or saying whatever. And we're just like, we're nearing the end of Podcast Valley Sunday. And I don't want one of our final episodes to be a total dud, especially when people read New Monkees. I think right away some people are like, oh, man, come on. Which I will say, I was kind of one of those people. But once getting into it and watching and listening, it's really not probably as bad as you think it is.
No. Its reputation precedes it like whoa. And it's only been about a year or so that it's been on YouTube in 2 parts. If you want to check it out, folks, look up New Monkees Part 1, spelled out O-N-E. And then there's New Monkees Part 2. Part 1 has over twice as many views as Part 2, which means maybe more people binged Part 2, of course.
Because it's the stamina of it, because it's the entire series, which was 13 episodes in 2 parts. So it's like 2 almost 3-hour parts. And so you got to pace yourself. Like
it's Avengers-esque.
It really is.
But it was somebody named Doe Hubler was kind enough to post it all up, and he'll be shocked to learn that the comments are turned off.
Yeah. Like all Monkees things. Anything on the official Monkees YouTube page, comments are turned off.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. It wasn't always like that. But anyway.
No, not at all.
Okay, so getting into the new Monkees, here, did you want to give any little backup? Because here's the thing. Jeff did a much deeper dive into the new Monkees than I did. And so I think he's really going to kind of take he's the new Monkees expert on Podcast Valley Sunday.
Yes. That's true. I'm the senior New Monkees correspondent. I got some thoughts about it, the show itself, which I guess we'll save to the end. But firstly, we could talk about the boys themselves. They're a good bunch of dudes. Like, part of what bums me out about it not being a successful thing is that the guys seem like legitimate good dudes.
I agree. I thought that too. And before it was kind of like, oh man, New Monkees was garbage. Frig these guys. And we're kind of like making fun of their names and stuff. But then it's like, once you kind of see them, it's like, it is a bummer for these guys because they just seem like rad dudes.
Yeah. I guess off the top, we should give the props to Steve Blauner, who's been mentioned before. He was actually a suit at Columbia who gave the green light to the original Monkees project in the first place for Bob and Bert, and later became kind of a partner with them. And so he's in charge, and Columbia Pictures Television still had the rights to the Monkees TV show, much to the chagrin of Mickey, Davey, and Peter. And this gets into why we have Monkees and New Monkees that have very, very little to do with each other. But in terms of the Monkees TV show property, this is what happens to it. And a thing against it is that it's called the New Monkees. And there's discussion among the guys during the making of it that it wasn't supposed to be the New Monkees. If they were going to change the name, Blauner wanted to change the name. But in terms of auditioning and trying to sell it, it was like a shorthand for what they're trying to do. A TV show with the music, 4 dudes. Let's rock. That kind of thing. If someone said the New Monkees, you know what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and I agree that I feel if this was called something else, I think it would have had a better chance of getting off the air. Might not have been a huge monster hit like the Monkees were, but it wouldn't have had the baggage and the instant like new Monkees vibe to it, I think.
But we could talk more about that later on. And I will also talk about there's a limited amount of New Monkees content out there, but we'll throw out some clips you should definitely check out. Firstly, we have Larry Saltis, universally known as sort of the Davy of the group. He's the youngest. He's about 18. And Paco, get this. This is the coolest thing I've learned in this whole experience. Larry Saltis was born in Akron, Ohio, March 25th, 1968. The date of the airing of The Frodis Caper.
Wow. That's kind of awesome. Like a passing of the torch instantly, but they didn't know it yet.
For real. And he's like the young guy. He's definitely kind of put out front. And he's also a good shred-tastic lead guitarist, which does you pretty good in 1986, 87.
Yeah, and also can we point out with this New Monkees, they were looking for guys who could play their instruments and who were proficient at instruments.
Yes. I think it was going to be, even by the 80s, it was a lot harder to get away with faking it.
Yeah.
Just ask Millie and Vanilli from around this time.
True enough. It is funny you said he was the youngest. He's 18. He was born in 1968. I was like, wait, that math doesn't work. But I'm like, oh, wait.
Afraid so, dude.
This isn't now. This is 1986.
Yes. And also, it must be mentioned, Larry has a 5-star Class A Hall of Fame blonde mullet for the ages.
Does he ever?
Between him and Larry Gowan from up here in Canada, I think Larry's got a lock on the mullet game for sure.
Yeah, see, there's like the coiffed mullet that they have, but then there's like the hockey mullet that's just like short everywhere and just the long in the back. Like
rock star mullets are different.
Exactly, yeah. Like the real mullet, like the regular mullet, is just like no muss, no fuss, and that's why you have it. You know what I mean? You want to be able to whip your hair around, but you don't want to have to do any upkeep. You get the mud flaps, but if you really want to stand out,
the Alabama compromise.
Exactly. The only thing I could say with Larry they could have maybe changed was his name. Like Larry, I don't know. It's not as hip and young and cute as I think actual Larry is.
It was different times. There were young people named Larry at some point, which cracks me up for real when I'm thinking about.
Like the New Monkees, like, here's Larry, Carl, Bert, and Homer. The New Monkees, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, man. So that's Larry. And he sings most of the songs. If you dig Larry, check out episode 8. Larry leaves. There's a courtroom thing, which is a little monkey-esque. And eventually Larry bails, gets in the monkey mobile, which is a Mustang GT, 1987 styles. A lot like my mom's car.
Very much like your mom's car.
Which makes it, super hip. And it's a rare trip outside of the New Monkey Mansion, which we'll talk about. But it's episode 8, Larry leaves.
Does his grandfather come back from England and say he has to come back to the castle or else it's going to go get sold to the villagers?
Absolutely. Of course it does. Up next, Dino Kovas.
Here you go.
Now, this guy, very, you can't help but dig this guy. I don't know what it is. He's very, naturally kind of wants to hang out and have fun.
Yeah,
very,
for real.
Very real, cool dude.
Upon looking at them, I thought he'd be the one that would annoy me the most. You know what I mean? 'Cause he's got the craziest, most ridiculous 80s hair. But then when you hear him talking, he grows on you.
He just really seems like the real deal. And before this, he was kind of a cable TV legend on something called Back Porch Video, which is also available online. You can find it. It's there. And it feels like the kind of stuff we used to do, just goofing around with the camcorder. But they were on cable access in Detroit and Ohio.
That's crazy.
And he actually won a Cable Ace Award doing this. So he's got some television pedigree. In addition to being a pretty decent drummer, he only sings one song, and it's the theme song for the show. So Another
interesting.
monkey link there,
Yeah.
so to speak, is the drummer sings the theme song.
What's a good Dino episode?
Oh, Dino, probably Don't Touch That Dial, episode 6. And there's this dial, right? Larry and Dino are not supposed to touch it. But guess what?
They touch it.
They touch it, man. And like a bogus journey style thing ensues. That's pretty good. But Dino is also kind of big in this episode we're about to do for everybody in a few moments. And, oh yeah, last thing. Dino was also in a Detroit punk rock band called Snakeout before joining the New Monkees.
I wonder what all his punk rock buddies thought of that. Like, sorry, Snake Out, I gotta go join the New Monkees.
Look, man,
Like,
Sex Pistols played Stepping Stone. What
yeah,
can you do?
That's very true. It's very true.
Up next, we got Mr. Marty Ross. Now, this guy's kind of a ringer because he's already like a professional musician. Had a record out, kind of regionally famous in Wisconsin.
And he also looks like he's 35 years old.
Yes, he's kind of the Peter in that he plays banjo, bass, guitar, keyboards, and is also like sort of secretly a bit older than the rest of the guys.
Shh, you'll never know.
Yeah, turns out he was born in 57.
Wow.
It's almost our parents' age.
So he's like 30 years old, essentially.
Sometimes he wears a kilt. And he is very silly. He makes like the goofiest faces and does the goofiest stuff. But he's also like a very, very good musician. And I think a good fit for the show. He sings not as many songs as Larry does on the album, but he sings a bunch of tunes. And he's very, he's good. He's a good guy.
I'll just say this. For me, Marty is the one that I have to still kind of warm up to the most, just because he is so zany and out there and that kind of thing. Some of the times he reminds me of those pictures of Mickey at the end of the Monkees that make me crazy. But he's definitely very talented and everything. But what episode do you think would be a good Marty episode?
Oh, well, episode 2, All My Martys. It's this is an incident with a photocopier. And then a multiplicity thing transpires.
Oh, nice.
Or there's a whole bunch of Martys, which he's probably the easiest one to make a bunch of because you can't dress up a bunch of people in pompadours, but you can dress them up in like a medium-length brown hair wig and put on that Chico Marx Fozzie Bear little brown hat of his. And you have a bunch of people doing the Scooby-Doo through the hallways looking a little bit like Marty Ross. Sorry to give away most of the plot to episode 2, All My Martys.
No, it's more like it's a good trailer, I think.
Finally, Mr. Jarod Chandler. He's more of a traditional waiter / actor kind of guy who would end up in a project like this. He's got some chops on the guitar, and he plays some bass, but I think he's more of an actor, more hired for his hair, perhaps. And he doesn't have any leads, as far as I can tell.
Oh, wow.
But he was born in July 67, around the time Pleasant Valley Sunday came out, with words on the B-side.
Nice.
See the research I do for these things, Paco?
I'm telling you, this is good. You really did a deep New Monkey dive, for sure.
Thanks.
Like,
appreciate it.
To be honest, you're probably one of the most knowledgeable New Monkees aficionados on the planet right now.
Well, I don't know. It took an afternoon. What can I say?
Yeah.
After the New Monkees, he kind of went to the military for a bit and kind of combined things when he became like a military consultant for movies and TV shows.
Oh,
and
cool.
He's actually in Point Break, and he's in Operation Dumbo Drop, along with the behind-the-scenes military consulting.
I've seen Point Break quite a bit, so I've definitely seen Jarod at some point.
But canonically, here on the New Monkees, he's like the gadget guy. His few episodes are about him in the lab doing stuff, and something goes wrong. In fact, a good Jarod episode would be episode 5, Rough Day, I think it's called, but it's RUFF. Because get this, Jarod and a dog switch brains.
Oh, wow.
and like a shaggy dog thing goes on for a bit. So like, you'll notice the recurring thing is that almost every episode could be described as the plot to something else by naming the title of it. But and also this particular episode, on the last aired episode, episode 13, which is almost like a bizarre farewell clip show, like they knew they were getting canceled. So they took this episode, brought in a comedy troupe called Fire Sign Theater to overdub like improv style dialogue, like a Whose Line Is It Anyway thing. And that's episode 13 is mostly this episode with other voices in it.
Interesting.
It's something. So it also counts as a Jarod episode, I suppose.
Huh. That's fun.
Yeah.
Well, now that we know the boys, let's get into the show.
Yeah.
This might be our longest cold open. When somebody does a Podcast Valley Sunday podcast, they're going to be like, that one was 18 minutes.
Oh, man. The circle would be complete.
That'd be amazing. It'd be awesome if the guys in the New Monkees are doing it.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to fish for my compliment about the tune that we just heard at the top of the show.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes. It was our 80s. One of the ideas we had was going to be like a podcast from the past, like the New Monkees had just started and we're talking about it kind of thing. And so
we're doing it on a camcorder.
Yeah, exactly. And so then we could
have called it Camcorder Valley Sunday.
Yeah, we could have. But so then I said to Jeff, like, hey, man, can you make a new, like, if it was the 80s and you were making a theme for our show about the New Monkees, what would it sound like? And yeah, he put this together and there it was.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I like that one.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. It's really good. So, okay, here we go. The New Monkees, episode 1, called Weather the Storm. Directed by Yvonne Kelso and also Rick Friedberg. If you look in different places, it has them both. But then on the show, it just says Yvonne Friedberg. Written by Matt Fassberg and Victor Fresco. Originally aired September 14th, 1987. So there's no cold open. We go right into the opening theme. And the credits are like super bonkers and very, very 80s. Like one thing this show hits, if somebody made this now as a throwback to what the 80s were like, it'd be like, man, that is so over the top. Nothing was like that. It wasn't that 80s looking. But the New Monkees is. Like, it's crazy. So we get to see the new Monkey Mobile, which he says, the Ford Mustang GT, which is sweet, but not as sweet as the original Monkey Mobile. Like, there's just no comparison.
It's impossible, dude. That's like Batmobile level business here.
Yeah, exactly. And so we see the boys' house, which looks like a huge ghetto blaster or boom box. And like the dudes are running around like crazy people. And so it's like a nice nod to the original. And so they have a butler. And this house just seems enormous. Just like going from watching the opening credits for the first time. It says there's a shot of each guy, but they're like made up on 4 TVs stacked on top of each other. So the top one's their head, the bottom one's their feet, and then like the rest of them is in there, and they're all spinning different ways and stuff.
And like this kind of video effect you could do on your phone nowadays, but this took some doing back then.
Yeah, they'd have to actually stand TVs on top of each other and put it together. It's all practical effects back then. So we meet the guys, say Larry, Dino, Jarod, and Marty.
Yep.
And he gives off, like we said, even in the title sequence, Marty gives off like a goofy Peter vibe. Like not like a dummy though. How Peter played the dummy. Marty doesn't really do that. He just plays the goofy guy.
Yeah.
And then we see the disembodied lips on a television, which at first I just thought was like, oh, okay, 80s, very 80s, but she plays a big part in the show. You'll see coming up. The song, honestly, it's not that bad. It's very 80s, but it's a pretty catchy tune. It has a wailing guitar solo in it. Come on, Larry, do it. It just goes crazy. And then we catch it feels very Saturday morning cartoon is what the song and opening credits really feel like.
That is kind of true. And
then we catch the New Monkees logo, which looks like it was straight off of the wall of the Cafe 80s in Back to the Future Part 2. It also really embraces the time. So the show starts, and the Lips, whose name is Helen, played by Linny Godfrey. So they pop up on the screen and asks if we want to meet the new Monkees. And she says that first we have to see them a year ago. And we cut to like a Monkees premier staple, the screen tests. So he's like the actual screen test of the dude. And we start with Jared Chandler. And the guy using the light meter tells him that he likes his hair.
Jared, screen test. Take one.
Man, I like your hairdo.
Thanks.
Which I thought was funny. Then we see Dino, who says that his car got hit twice in 6 days in Detroit. And the second time he caught the kid that hit him. And he said that if the kid gave him $1,100, he'd forget the whole thing. But then this new Monkees thing came up and he spent all the money getting to the audition. So his car is still smashed up back home. And the crew's loving him. Like you can hear multiple people laughing and loving it.
Yeah.
Now I ain't got no money to fix my car.
Did all your friends think you were crazy when you wanted to come and try out for the new Monkees?
They thought I was crazy to pay that much. They thought I could have got over cheaper, you know.
And yeah, he seems like he's a pretty funny dude. And next we see
just natural. There's like you just he's not even making it up. It's just this is how it is, and you're entertained.
Yeah, 100%. And then next we see Larry, and he's asked what his fondest memory of the last few months is, and he says that it's his whole experience right now.
Fondest memory is this, will be this whole experience, because the whole experience was a surprise, as I said before. Coming home from work, and mother and father have 2 tickets on the table to go to New York.
The puppy dog enthusiasm of this kid.
100%, dude. He's so innocent and nice and excited. That's awesome. And next we see Marty, and his whole thing is played backwards, and his name reverses on the screen.
It's not the last time you hear from Backwards Marty throughout this show. Like you never get it like a straight up interview with Marty for some reason. Yeah,
it's funny. And then when it's played forwards, it's not as cool as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. And I'm looking back up, and there's my hair and skin. And I'm singing a song, and we go off in a crowd.
Yeah, it's funny because it's just like in the middle of him. You don't hear the beginning or the end. It cuts in the middle of the sentence and cuts out in the same middle of the sentence. So it's very weird.
Well, you heard it here first, folks, probably.
Yeah. So we cut back to Jared and like James Frawley behind the camera, or whoever it is. He's telling him that
new James Frawley.
Yeah, new James Frawley. Jimmy Frawls.
Wait a second. Who's that at the door?
Oh, hey.
New D. Caruso.
Hey, guys, new D. Caruso. Super happy, man. 80s are great. Wow. Oh, man. You're very different from old D. Caruso.
Nice Bermuda shorts there, D.
Thanks, man. Old D. Caruso, his blood pressure is through the roof, bud. I don't know. I'm just hanging out, sipping some tab and having a great time here in the 80s.
Tremendous. Well, you want to stick around, or you got somewhere to be?
No, man, I got some shuffleboard. I'm going to go, dude. Just spread the love, man. That's what new D. Caruso's all about.
Awesome. Well, great to meet you, new D. Caruso. Oh, can we call you Nudie?
Sure, man. Everybody does.
Hey.
All right. See you, man. Wow. New D. Caruso. What a guy.
Who knew?
So new James Frawley tells Jared that the interview's over and that he's like surprised it's done already. And he says that he was going to bring out a chainsaw and cut the couch in half. And so obviously right now from this, Dino is the runaway star of the show.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Just from that whole thing. That's all you need to know. So,
for sure.
So next we cut back and we see Larry singing like a We Are the World type video. It's like the full band has headphones on. They're all in the studio singing into microphones and stuff. And the 80s were in love with the video of the band in the studio.
There was a lot of that.
Yeah. It was tons of it. And it's one thing also I'll say about the new Monkees is the stuff they do is obviously based on other stuff that had been popular around that time. Like this kind of video, different things. It's like, that's the one thing they didn't quite latch onto is breaking outside of their box in certain areas, which really hemmed them in.
Yeah, it's true too. Yes. you talk about having to look like stuff, is like the weird pressure of this kind of project where you want to sort of resemble things so people can have a kind of a hook to grab onto. Like when they show the live music later, and it's like that black stage with their just bright colors popping off the stage, like a Bon Jovi video or a Whitesnake video or a Great White video or a White Lion video. There's all this that looked like that just because it was the style of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely has that feeling of it, though. Like it falls into line quickly.
Yes.
So Helen Lips comes back and she asks if we like the guys and introduces herself, and she says that she runs the place and it's just her and the boys.
Oh, yeah. And there's this old dude, the butler.
She starts to insult him, but he walks in the room and he hits the TV that she's talking on and shuts it off. Because, yeah, Helen is just upside down lips on like a snowy background, like a cable snowy background, not like a winter's day.
Yeah, she's not always upside down, but it's most of the time she is, and it's a weird choice. I don't know.
Yeah. So the butler introduces himself as Manford. This is Gordon Osheim. And he says that he runs the house.
It's no easy task.
And so we see the exterior shot of the radio house, and the name of the episode comes up, Weather the Storm, just so you remember. Mm-hmm. And Manford tells us about how huge the house is, and that there are endless hallways, countless rooms, and very strange occupants. And even has its own diner, and shows the diner, and it looks a lot like the Max in Saved by the Bell.
Absolutely.
It has that whole vibe, which is another thing that really embraced its time. So Helen pops back up and tells us how big the house is, and she tells us about the time that the boys got lost trying to get to the recording studio, which I believe is also in the house. So we see the boys walking down the hall, and Larry's leaving a trail behind them, like trail of breadcrumbs, and Jarod tells him that he's making a mess, but Larry says that he's doing it so they don't get lost again. And Marty stops, and he says they don't need the recording studio because they can shoot the rock video right there in the hallway. And it's like, oh, they're going to the recording studio to shoot a music video, which is weird. Like
of course,
the music video idea just gets popped out of Marty, and that's the thing that pushes the whole show. Like Marty's always trying to find a place for them to shoot this rock video.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jarod, he seems like a little bit of the downer of the group. He's not into it at all, but Marty starts to dance. And the title card appears at the bottom corner, like MTV style, that says New Monkees, Straybert Productions, Valencia Breakdown. Like,
yeah, but it's not even a real song.
No, it's just, yeah, I was going to say, the title sucks.
It's just a little interlude, and they never do the little MTV title thing for any of their like actual songs.
No, it's just
a weird move. They try to be a little subversive in the middle of episode. Oh, it's music on TV. Let's put the thing up there. But it's just if they're gonna do it, just go all the way with it.
Yeah, do it for your own songs and let people know what these songs are called. So
yes.
Then they go to the record store when they call up the radio station, they know what they're asking for rather than asking for Valencia Breakdown. And everyone's like, I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. It's like the New Monkees song. Didn't you see it? Marty was dancing.
You pick up the New Monkees record and Valencia Breakdowns are not even on it. You got to wait for like New Missing Links Volume 3.
Exactly. It's their All the King's Horses. Everyone's waiting for the Buzzy Valerie. So they all start dancing, and there's some like 80s visual effects, and it feels like a romp is coming on essentially. But then Dino throws down his drumsticks, and Larry and Jarod stop dancing, but zany Marty keeps it going and gets out of hand.
Yep.
And then Jarod tells him that they're not making a video in the hallway, and Helen fills the screen and says,
Nice try, bozo.
So Jarod buzzkill once again. He says that they need the recording studio, and Larry says that they should have gotten Manford to take them because he's the only one who knows the mansion. So Dino then tells him that they'll find it, and he opens a door that leads to a huge eel, and he kind of pretends to freak out. And then Larry opens a door, and there's Dr. Frankenstein. He tells the New Monkees to wait, and he'll be with them in a second, and then starts to electrocute the body in front of him. And Marty hears fighting happening behind one of the doors, and a foot comes kicking through the door. And so obviously Marty bites it.
Of course.
Yeah, gross. And so Dino walks up to a door that looks like it's from a submarine with a sign on it that says, "Do not open, Dino." And he asks why it's addressed to him. And JBK, Jarod Buzzkill, he says that he'll probably want to open it. And Larry walks up to another door, And they're really pushing the door a bit. Like, maybe it's their nod to all the fainting in Monkees Mind Their Manner.
I guess.
Let's just keep going with this. It says, "Do not open Larry." And he says,
I could have gotten in trouble.
and a halo appears over his head. And back to Dino and JBK. And they go back and forth about why one of them should or shouldn't open it. And Jarod starts to finally open it, but Dino stops him. And he says he's the one that's not supposed to open it. And tells JBK to hold his script. And so he opens the door. And Larry comes running in and tries to stop him. But when he gets the door open a little bit, rain and wind pour through and all the boys get drenched. Like, it pours down on them.
Yeah.
So when they get the door closed, Larry sees that Dino has a dark cloud over his head. And Dino says that a little rain never hurt anybody. But suddenly the cloud turns angry and shoots out lightning. And Dino gets drenched with water. And when
we can see Dino with squished down hair right away.
Yeah, instantly. Yeah, he goes down like 5 inches. And then the wind blows him back up against a wall.
Oh, yeah. This is some Commodore Amiga style CGI. That's the C in CGI is Commodore Amiga.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really intense and hilarious. Helen shows up on screen and says,
And I'm not wearing a stitch of clothing. I knew that'd get your attention.
Jeez.
And Marty, Larry, and Jarod are in the recording studio, and Marty complains to Helen that they have finally found the studio but can't find their drummer. And Helen looks through the house because she has like cameras essentially in every room. And we see Helen's POV going through the house, and it's like a target on it, but she's like kind of like moving through the hallways too. It's interesting.
Yeah. In a later episode, you find out Helen is a former Department of Defense computer.
Interesting.
But she got into rock and roll instead, and that's why she's in this house with a band.
Interesting. That's funny. So we see her point of view while Marty shows the other guy some sweet guitar licks. And she says that she sees a huge storm front coming to their door, and suddenly Dino pops in the room soaking wet. And JBK asks if he's okay, and Dino's very angry, but says that he's okay, and that they need to start before the cloud catches up to him. So the boys are super stoked to practice, and they jump into a song, but then the cloud descends on Dino and starts dumping Skittles or something on him, like all these pellety
I think it's
things.
hail. I think it's supposed to be hail.
Oh, it's hail.
But he's getting wailed on for sure.
And so Marty says that they were so close to a video that he could taste it, and then does these gross moves with his mouth. And then Helen says,
Ooh, nice pair of lips.
and then Manford tells Helen to bug off because it's not her show. And she says that it is, and he says that it isn't, and then they bicker for a while, which comes up quite a bit. But I gotta say, the sexual tension between Helen and Manford is so electric, you could charge your Tesla with it.
Oh, yeah, just wait till New Monkees After Dark.
Exactly. Yeah. New Monkees Max. Like, who's going to film this video? Like, that they're making right now in the thing. Is Helen just going to use her cameras to film it? It seems very haphazard of them to do this.
It's never addressed.
No, it never is. So Larry and some girl are on a date in the diner, and Rita, the woman who works at the diner, her name is Bess Mota. Yeah. She keeps interrupting them, trying to serve them more coffee, and Larry keeps telling her that they're fine, and goes back to talking to the girl about how beautiful she is.
And your nose is just so functional.
And so Rita comes back and says that she has some fantastic carrot cake. And Larry essentially tells her to F off, but the girl says that she would love some carrot cake. And Rita says that she just sold the last piece and walks away. So I got to assume that Rita has a crush on Larry and is trying to keep this girl away from him.
Or she's just C-blocking him for fun.
Maybe.
One or the other. Yeah,
because she's working in their house at the diner. They have a lot of downtime at that diner.
For real.
So Dino comes bustling in, and he brings a hurricane with him, and the girl blows away.
Aww.
So back in the studio, Marty's being extra annoying while playing synthesizers and making stupid faces and still working on the video, and decides that he needs more smoke because he seems to be trying to put every stereotypical prop in the music video that he can.
Oh, yeah.
And he fills the whole place with smoke, and we get some stock footage of an old movie of a woman she comes out of some smoke. And titles appear in the corner again that say New Monkees, Straybert Records, Mamba Concrete. Another horrible name that doesn't exist. And Marty freaks out that this is the video. He's super excited. And the woman dances, and Marty acts like a jackass for a while until Dino shows up and blows all the smoke away with his hurricane. So Jarod's walking down the hall dressed up as a surfer and carrying a surfboard and comes to a door that says beach room. And he opens it up and there's a hurricane going on and he gets soaked and then the door falls down and we see like the whole crew sitting outside and then the director tells him to get that wall back up.
Someone get that wall back up.
And that's a cool little break there.
Like an actual wall break, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And actual outside as well.
Hey, what's up?
So this leads us to the commercial. I don't know if the New Monkees got to do any commercials, so.
No sponsors.
No sponsors.
Well, they were this TV. It was like distributed by Coca-Cola Communications.
There you go.
So there's also like Coke commercials with them that were reworked with like Whitney Houston later. Like the parts that the New Monkees in them were taken out and Whitney was put in.
Wow.
Like something like that happened.
Interesting. I like to find those commercials.
Oh, they're out there.
So we come back and we see Manfred riding a skateboard. And I'm assuming it wasn't the real Manfred, although that'd be awesome. And then they're in there, and the boys are in a room, and Jarod is feeding the fish. And the scene is in Japanese, I believe. It's what it sounds like. And there are English subtitles. And essentially Larry's saying that he's missing his favorite silver tray, and Manfred has it. And he offers it to them, and Marty asks where Dino is. And Manfred says that he was feeling a bit under the weather and drops the tray.
Ho, ho.
Literally under the weather. And so Dino's in the diner with Rita, and he's trying to eat, but his food is frozen solid, and the diner's filled with snow. And he complains that not only can't he eat, but he's got no social life. And he and Rita go back and forth with inspirational sayings to each other, and we get some stock footage for each one. And then there's an old-timey cartoon of a guy peeping on a woman changing, which is weird. And then a shot of Dino in an interview saying,
I was a monkey fanatic.
And a woman in an old car spinning around. And then go back to Dino saying that when he was a kid, he and his friends would pretend to be the Monkees and have girls chase them around the monkey bars. And we see Jarod saying that the OG Monkees really did their stuff and it was real hot, and if the new Monkees are hoping to be really hot too. Back to Dino saying that he played Davy Jones and now he's taller than Davy. And then someone says, well, just because of your hair. And he's like, no, I'm taller than Davy. He really wanted to make that clear. So Manfred's yelling at Helen, and the stock footage shows a guy doing backflips with a dog walking on him. Like you've seen the stock footage. There's a guy doing the dog on him. And then back to Manfred yelling at Helen to get a hold of herself. And then she says,
Keep your cool, Pinhead. I was just checking to see what else was on.
And so were the viewers of the New Monkees.
Oh, boy.
Oof, unfortunate. So then Manfred and Helen bicker again. And it just keeps going on and on. Like, just the two of them bickering just made me want to jump out the window. It's like we got to the point. It's like every time they're around each other, that's what they do. And it just kind of, we get it. The other three boys are trudging through the hallway in the snow. And then they're in a room with everyone. And they're still trying to get rid of the rain cloud over Dino. And we get stock footage of flowers opening and butterflies and birds and rivers. And suddenly the rain cloud is gone. And Dino's super dry and super excited. And Marty says that this is the video. He's pushing that plot line so hard. And then he catches a guitar that's thrown to him. And Dino says, forget the video. He's hungry. And then they go and get something to eat. And so
Wicked guitar toss.
Good, yeah.
By Marty, too.
I'm really hoping that was a one take. Like toss to him, catch, and he just tosses it off. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So we cut to the New Monkees on stage playing one of their songs to a bunch of like 80s people who are really into it. Like they're loving this. And the video has that live video look, like how you were saying, like on the black risers.
Just back then, they were just called people, Paco. Like, I want to get the counter out and see how many times we say 80s throughout this episode.
Well, see, because you got to, if we just know there's a bunch of people watching them, you just think of people watching them. But these people are like teased hair, fringe denim jackets, like the 80s. And I'm not putting them down. It's just like I want to give people a visual image.
As opposed to like stock footage people in crowds. That we see a bunch in these. And this live room here, I think throughout the series, you see like at least half the album played in this room. Maybe they change their clothes once or twice, but they do this style video for a lot of their songs.
Yeah, it's probably the easiest way to do it.
Oh, for sure. And this particular one is called What I Want. And we'll talk about it later, but this is the first episode. It's going to be in 4 of the first 5 episodes. So they're really trying to I'm a believer it.
Definitely. This is the one they're pushing hard. And they've even got like choreographed dance moves, like the 2 guitar players, bass player got the moves going down the steps. And they have like backup singers.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole thing. It's like our first real taste of New Monkees music. And again, it's not, this song is not awful. This song isn't super memorable. They do have some thicker jams I think they should have pushed.
Yeah.
And Dino has a lot of drums. Like he's surrounded by drums. And so, and at the end of the song, we cut to Dino in his interview saying,
Yes. Is that what you wanted to hear?
They probably gave him some question or whatever, and he's just like, I know you just want to hear me say yes. So, yes. Is that what you want to hear? And then we're back in the studio, and they're singing another song, and it looks like the video before, them singing the We Are the World vibe.
That's the same song.
Yeah.
It's called I Don't Know.
Yeah. And so the credits roll over that, and that's how it works. And that's the end of episode 1 of the New Monkees.
Mm-hmm.
So overall thoughts, for me, it's like a non-stop barrage of stuff happening. Like it's
true.
It's for the ADD people who can just move on to the next thing. Give me something new. Give me something new. Give me something new. And it just hits you. Mm-hmm. Which is, that's what it is. That's what this show is. Like how he said, it's a very Saturday morning cartoon or just Saturday morning live action kind of show about a band who has a house that looks like a radio and a butler and some lips running the show.
But it's also like it almost seems like if it was a Saturday morning, Sunday morning thing, which is kind of where it ended up from the sounds of things. Like it seems it would be a better fit like late at night, like after Saturday Night Live. Like there's things, it's a little risque here and there, and there's some references that'll be lost on young people.
Yeah, if they were gonna do that, they'd have to maybe trim some of the zaniness, like the silliness down. If they're going for the later show, like maybe whatever Dino was doing on his public access show, lean more to that kind of thing. But again, what do I know? Like a lot of like famous YouTube videos and people on YouTube have the most annoying shit going on, and that's their thing, and that's what people like to see from them. So
it's true. And this particular episode isn't, not all the episodes are like this. Like a lot of them have like a plot section, like this storm cloud thing. But sometimes the plot sections are only like 15 minutes long. And you could tell because there's 3 songs and 2 short films in a Dino's Kitchen segment. Like they packed the show with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I don't like to throw the phrase ahead of their time around too much. But I think they were ahead of their time in terms of what they were trying to do, in terms of the level of effects available on their budget for what they were trying to do. Like, what they got right, I think, were the guys who seemed to like be working together, having a good time, and they sound all right. They sound good. They just didn't quite figure out the show before they put it on the air. And there's like a lot of segments, like a black and white short film series called Fabletown, and it's like there's one of these in several episodes, and it really has nothing to do with the rest of the show. And if you're just flipping through channels, you would not know it's the New Monkees.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about this before, but a big thing is calling it the New Monkees. I think that really shot them in the foot, and they would have been taken more seriously, even though the show's not to be taken seriously in that way. But you know what I mean? I feel it almost. Even people always say there's too many reboots, too many remakes, blah, blah, blah. But like, look, the New Monkees happened in 1987, and they were hoping, and like how you said, when you hear the New Monkees, you understand what it is, but then people are instantly like, yeah, but what are you doing? Why are you doing a New Monkees when you don't, you know what I mean? If it was called something else, like we were talking about once before, there was a show on Saturday mornings called The Guys Next Door, which was obviously a nod to New Kids on the Block. But it was a show very similar to the New Monkees, and there were a boy band that had an album that went out and all that stuff. And
possibly
I kind of
our
think
next podcast.
Yeah, I think they might have used what was going on with the New Monkees and took things from that and put together The Guys Next Door.
I suppose.
Which wasn't a huge smash hit either, but it was its own thing. Here's the write-up on IMDb. The Guys Next Door is about 5 guys who lived in a huge house. The show consisted of comedy skits and music videos, which starred the guys themselves. That exact same synopsis could be for the New Monkees.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but around this time, it was kind of like, I don't know if the Monkees 20-year comeback thing spurred the whole deal about around this time. It wasn't just the New Monkees. There was New Addams Family, New Munsters, New Shaggy Dog, New My Three Sons, New Gilligan's Island, new everything. They brought back Star Trek, Next Generation, which had this other cast that had no relation to the first cast. And people were like, this is not going to work. It's going to be like the New Monkees. That was a joke. But it went on to be considerably more successful. And then what else was contemporary with the Monkees? Batman, and they brought that back a couple of years after this, and it was Michael Keaton was going to be Batman. Mr. Mom was going to be Batman. That's ridiculous. Did you watch Beetlejuice? No way. Some random stuff worked, some of it didn't. But this deal with the New Monkees, if it made it onto Fox, like the Fox network had just come out, and this would have been something they could have put on, given a long leash late at night.
Yes.
Because it was tough to program Fox. You think Married with Children would have lasted more than 13 episodes if it was on like ABC or something. It wouldn't even get on the air.
No, exactly. Yeah. This does feel like a 80s Fox show, just the vibe of it and everything.
But because of the nature of like the syndicated shows, it was on the weird high number. I think this was on, remember Channel 49?
Oh, yeah.
Channel 29 became our Fox channel, but 49 was like this other Buffalo weird station that played wacky shit. And I remember this being on it at one time. I have one specific memory from watching the New Monkees, and it was Dino. I knew his name was Dino because they just called him Dino. What are you going to do, Dino? And he pulls out a giant plug. And it goes to commercial. And it comes back, and it's like Fabletown or something. And so you don't know it's the New Monkees. I'm like, what happened to the New Monkees? Did Dino unplug the show? Is it canceled? Because like it felt like something totally different happened. And like I just went and played Commodore 64. Like I was a bit young for this.
Yeah.
And how random it was. Like we were just starting to get into staying up late and watching SNL and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this kind of just missed us. And I think if it was a few years later, if it was on a more consistent time zone and I could actually get it on all the TVs in my house, like this would have been like a bigger hit. And if it had like it's pretty ambitious, the stuff they try to do.
Yeah, I agree. And for the time it was, for sure. So yeah, so the New Monkees, I gotta say, I went in kind of thinking we were just gonna laugh at it about how bad it was and how stupid it was, but that's definitely not what we came out with. Definitely. And again, I haven't seen all of the episodes, but I could definitely, even when I noticed when I was talking about things, I'd be like, oh, and Marty was super annoying, or this guy was this. I could kind of see like making excuses for it, because like you are now in with the New Monkees, and I'm not talking sauce when I say that. I'm just stating.
And like I watched the whole thing, but like a few days ago, you and me watched Monkey Mail, episode 7, which is one of the stronger episodes, and definitely more of a grab bag episode that shows you all the different stuff. And you get to meet Stiv, Dino's old co-host of Back Porch Video back home, who makes a surprising number of appearances in this show.
Crazy.
But as an experience, in terms of like doing this Monkees thing that we're doing, and if we're going to talk about the history of the Monkees and the legacy of the Monkees and literally the legacy of the property itself, we have to talk about the New Monkees. We have to investigate it, and here we are. And I think it was fun. Like, I think the expectation bar was pretty low, but I think it was a pretty easy one to clear based on the strength of the dudes and just the ambition and just the kind of weirdness of it all.
Yeah. We are not going to be pulling songs from the hat, obviously, today. But we are going to talk about 3 New Monkees songs that are kind of their stronger offerings, I guess, on their one album they have. And just discuss it. And we're not going to put them in the countdown or anything like that. But it's just something we're going to do.
Yeah, there was that one, the new Monkees record that came out, and similar to the original Monkees, there was the hope that the songs would promote the show and the show would promote the songs, and it worked pretty well back in '66, and for whatever reason, didn't work so well in '87. But there's 11 songs on the record, and I think throughout the 13 episodes, they do get to all of them. And the first song we'll talk about is called What I Want. It's the first song on the record. It was, I guess, the second last song in this episode we just enjoyed. And it was the A-side of their only single. So they were pushing this pretty hard. And it's a Larry and Marty co-lead vocal. And I think, by my count, it's in 7 episodes, more than any other song, unless you count Turn It Up, which I guess appears 14 times. Yeah. But What I Want, as mentioned, it was in 4 of the first 5 episodes. So they're really trying to I'm a believer it, like I said, try to push it and try to get it out there, but kind of a swing and a miss, even though it contains the line, she grabbed my cue, she sunk my shot. She grabbed my cue, sunk my shot. Yeah, a lot of these lyrics are kind of like, oh my goodness, different songs, for sure. Yeah, like the songs, there are moments like throughout the show and in the music where like, it's not for kids. Yeah. This shouldn't be on after Muppet Babies or Davy and Goliath or whatever was on Sundays. But What I Want, it definitely has a catchy chorus, and it's everything is of the time, obviously, but it's a good song and it sounds cool. I think it's weird. The chorus ends on "What you can give me." It's like a robot trying to write a song or something. But then the na-nas start. Yeah. And then you're swaying and clapping. And yeah. It's something. It's fun. It's a good opener to the album. Definitely. It is. The second song I'd like to talk about is the theme song, Turn It Up. Everybody's invited, so don't make me wait too long. Let the music thunder, don't turn it down. Turn it up. Not written by Dino, sorry, but sung by Dino, and is the B-side of the single. Which is the last song on the album. It's funny it's the B-side, but it's like the theme of. Yeah. And it's also like, they don't say, hey, we're the new Monkees or anything. But yeah, no. I do like the song itself as like kind of like a call to action. Hey, man, we're on. Let's rock kind of thing. And I do like the vibe of it. I like the whoa. Yes, I like that part. That's an important hook on the song. Absolutely. It really is. And it is Dino's only lead vocal, which makes it weird because none of the rest of the music sounds like the theme of the show. It's true. Yeah. That's interesting. I thought we'd hear more Dino throughout the album just because he sings the theme song. And I thought they were going to try to disperse it between all of them. And I guess they did have 33 songs in the can. Maybe there's a Dino record worth of stuff, a Dino EP that Rhino can dig up. Who knows? Yeah, I wonder if Rhino's got the property on this now. Who knows? I don't know. How is there not? Yeah, new missing links. Come on. But no, it's another good tune. It's catchy, and it does what it needs to do essentially with that one. Yes, it's very much of the style at the time with the Larry Shreddington. Yeah, going for it on the guitar, and it does have an opening theme feel to it. Yes, it really does. Yes, very, very up and let's go. I think it was effective. Yes. Yes. The third song, Affection. I'm not crazy, just a little boy. Tired of being lonely. I'm tired of being ignored. Okay, now this is a song where some lyrics are kind of intense. Yes. It's kind of shocking, Affection, and its subject matter. Very much so. Especially in the context of a couple of its appearances on the show are in kind of like a zany, super duper 80s music video with the colors and the shapes, and it kind of distracts from the lyrical content of the song.
One of the lyrics, I might get it wrong, but the guy puts a shotgun to his head.
He opened up his jacket, and then he put that shotgun to his head. He said, I'm not crazy.
It's all about, it seems if you put this in like a minor key and slowed it down a little bit, this song would be extremely heavy. It's like,
For real.
It's like
And
portraits of different people's lives who aren't really doing super well with themselves. And yeah.
But the way it's used in the show most of the time, it's just, like a goofy New Monkees video.
Yeah.
But in episode 11, there's suddenly this, it's just like, I think it's mostly black and white with like a touch of color, I think. And it's just Marty with the guitar singing and playing Affection. And if you want to cue it up, it's on New Monkees Part 2, 1 hour, 21 minutes, and 12 seconds in. Let's have a listen.
Well, he drove out on the highway until his motor went dead. He opened up his jacket and then he put that shotgun to his head. He said, I'm not crazy, I'm just a little boy.
Okay, so to go with what you were just talking about, that video, it's a big long one take that starts super wide and comes right up into Marty's face. And I've got to say, Marty in this with his hair tied back, playing the acoustic guitar and singing, he doesn't even look like the same person. Like, he looks like a musician who's like a serious musician dude. Whereas in the show,
is a pro.
He's
a pro.
Exactly. And that's the first time when I've seen him, like, man, this guy's unreal. He's very good because he's always being so wacky, making faces and being zany that it's hard to take him as seriously as we probably should. And then when he ties his hair back into a little pony nub and he plays the acoustic guitar in this big warehouse, you're like, that guy's good. That's a great way to see that song for sure. And a great way to see Marty.
And he nails it, obviously, because it's like probably some sort of crane on a rolling thing.
Yeah.
With like a river in front of him or something. It's weird. It's a flooded airport hangar or something going on.
When we get the Blu-rays of the New Monkees, we'll be able to see these so much better.
Yes, I ordered the last one, Paco.
Damn.
I don't know, man.
I've got to write to Dino.
Here we go again.
Dino, I'll mow your lawn or whatever. Just give me the Blu-ray.
Oh, man.
Unreal. So,
but yeah, but mostly, my final thought about it is it's kind of like how Lorne Michaels talked about SNL and said that first season, we had the ingredients, but we didn't know the recipe. Because, there were too many fake commercials and two monologues. Things were off. They didn't figure it out until 4 or 5 episodes in. And if they had another season of New Monkees, I bet it might have been okay. If it had a more consistent time slot, it might have been okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of factors that could have really made it more than what it became. And it's a shame it didn't, because again, going back, man, if it was called something else on Fox later at night, had a little more reason to stretch out and stuff. You're right. It definitely could have clicked with more people.
And lastly, just a couple of links to other content. If you want to get on YouTube, look up Search for the New Monkees, 9 minutes of audition footage, quick glimpses of our guys, and a 13-week theater, like a YouTube channel about failed TV shows, has an episode that has more views than parts 1 and part 2 combined. Check that out.
Interesting. So yeah, check that out. Check out some New Monkees. And as far as Podcast Valley Sunday goes, we will be back in 2 weeks with some old Monkees. Back to the formula for the final 3 episodes of the Monkees.
Oh, man.
Crazy. We're getting into it now.
Feels like forever already. Oh my God.
Yeah, for real. For real. All right. So from me, New Paco.
And me, New Jeff.
Have yourself a New Monkees little evening.
New thank you, new bye-bye.